I am now extremely pleased to welcome to Discovery once again the Honourable Kathleen Wynne, Premier of Ontario. Premier Wynne's commitment, stated from her outset of her election as Premier, has been to engage with the people of Ontario, to collaborate and to innovate. She has shown through her actions that she strongly supports innovation as the path to the future that will fortify our economy. Our 25th Premier, she has been proactive in helping to open market opportunities for Ontario, leading to trade missions to Asia, Israel, Japan, and South Korea in 2016 alone. Her government has also invested heavily in innovation through its support for development of clean technology, smart computing, and next-generation transportation technology. Please join me in welcoming Premier Kathleen Wynne.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. That just goes to show you that a donkey cart driver can be a catalyst for other things. What can I say? It's great to be back at Discovery. Welcome, everyone. Thousands of our best and brightest minds are going to be in the same room over the next couple of days, and I'm very excited to hear about what comes of that collaboration. Because to go back to the donkey cart, government needs to hear from the people who are on the front line, and we need the people on the front lines to be talking to each other and giving us advice. So thank you all for giving your time and being here. I'd like to begin by acknowledging, as I always do, that since long before we began meeting here, this land has been a gathering place for many Indigenous people, and I want to show my respect for First Nations and Métis people who for countless generations have helped to shape Ontario and continue to do so today. Yes. There's a quote from Elon Musk that goes like this: "If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it." And I know that there are entrepreneurs in this room who can relate to that. It's good advice for government too, and it's good advice especially right now. From my first moments as Premier, I've been very clear that I believe that government can and must be a force for good. In fact, that's what it exists to do, in my opinion. We have to do everything that we can, all that we can, both to drive economic growth and create good jobs. And this is particularly true right now in this time of transformational change that Jared was so eloquently outlining. And I was going to use an analogy about my first car that I bought being a stick shift 4-cylinder Honda Civic, and that my granddaughter's first car will probably be a self-driving electric vehicle. But what really makes me think is what Jared was talking about, and the breadth of the change that we're seeing, and the pace of that change. So as I see it, we have two options in this new economy, and that's from government's perspective. We can either follow or we can lead. And so I want to thank everyone in this room for choosing to lead and choosing to push government to lead, because that's what you have done and are doing. The advancements and the breakthroughs that you are studying, the businesses that you are starting, every machine you're building and programming is pushing our economy forward. It's creating new opportunities, and it's changing the way that we live. Like you, we want to make people's lives better. Again, I think that's why government exists, to come together to do things that people can't do by themselves. And that's why we continue to support the Ontario Centres of Excellence. It's why we're investing in 5G to serve as the backbone for technologies like autonomous vehicles. And it's why we launched the Vector Institute to put Ontario at the forefront of artificial intelligence. And already we can see our efforts are paying off. Just last week, CNBC reported that Vector is attracting top talent from Silicon Valley. Now, that may be some of our talent that went to Silicon Valley and is coming back. Never mind, that's a good thing. And Uber announced they will invest $5 million in Vector and open a new research hub in Toronto dedicated to perfecting the self-driving car with the help of dozens of new employees. So this is a very exciting time. We are getting the big stuff right. But we also need to acknowledge that changes of this magnitude are bringing unique challenges. And I think Jared was pointing to some of those. And as a government, it calls on us to be as bold and as innovative as you are in the spheres where we have to make change. The reality is that there is a real uneasiness about the future. There's an uneasiness in Ontario, but beyond Ontario, people are anxious. Employment is not as stable as it used to be. And it's tough to save, to plan ahead. It's tough to feel confident that your job will still be yours, or even still be around in 10 years, or 5, or even less. And I hear this often from parents who are concerned about what opportunities will be there for their children because they can't imagine exactly what the future is going to look like. And that's because no one can say for certain what's in store for them in the digital century. So it's no wonder that parents of kids can't imagine that. They're not seeing that picture painted for them. So we have to return to our core values and ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to live in, and how then do we build that? As Premier, my job is twofold here. First, I need to make sure that you can continue to put Ontario in the lead because the benefits of what you are doing are enormous. And secondly, I need to make sure that we're managing this changing economy in a way that creates more opportunity and more security in people's lives, not less. That is my mandate. En tant que Premier ministre, il fait partie de mes responsabilités de m'assurer que notre gestion de ces changements se fait d'une manière qui crée une meilleure façon de vivre. Nous voulons mettre en place des politiques et des programmes pour faire en sorte que la croissance soit équitable. So let's look at the plan that we have put in place, where we've laid out the vital role that government plays in closing those gaps as they emerge in this new economy. And I'm going to use some specific examples from what we're doing right now. One thing we know is that more and more people are working on contract or they're juggling part-time jobs. Employment is less stable and workers can't count on a benefit plan as they used to be able to. All of this has consequences for people and for families. It means financial strain, and it contributes to that anxiety and a huge emotional stress. And it means that many children and young people don't have access to those benefits, including a drug plan, for example, through their parents the way that they did in the past. So in this example, we're stepping up and we're ensuring that our healthcare system evolves with the times. Starting next year, we're making prescription medications free for everyone under 24 and under, through a program called OHIP Plus. And I will just say to Jared, just one edit from your remarks, that in Ontario, when you go to a doctor, you don't have to find one that accepts your insurance. That's just one of the things about living in Ontario and living in Canada. But people have not had benefits. Many people have not had benefits to cover medications. So this program will have far-reaching benefits for families. I was recently speaking to a woman in my own jurisdiction, in my own riding. She has 5 children. She had a hard winter. All the kids got sick at one time or another. And she told me what a difference this will make for her family. So OHIP Plus represents the biggest expansion of Medicare in Ontario over the course of a generation. And it is a major leap forward toward universal drug coverage for people in the province, a discussion that has been going on across the country, but in Ontario we have decided that it is time for us to take this step. There's a second thing that we know about the new economy. In this increasingly globalized world, our greatest competitive edge is our talented, skilled workforce. I hear this all the time. So we're also making college and university more affordable and more accessible. Starting this September, tuition is going to be free for hundreds of thousands of students. So if you think about that, think about the difference that it will make in terms of unleashing the potential that it is not being realized right now by young people who look at the price of going to post-secondary and think, I can't afford that. And even if I got loans, I can't be saddled with that debt because I don't know that I'm going to be able to pay that debt back at the end of my schooling. So that change that we're making is going to mean that a whole cohort of young people from this province will think about and go to university or college or go into a training program who wouldn't have done that before. It's a good thing. The third thing we know is that we need everyone to be able to contribute at their very best. So we're also building new childcare spaces. Now, you say, well, how is that an economic benefit? The fact is that has a direct impact on people's ability to participate in the economy, particularly women. And finally, we're launching a basic income pilot in 3 regions. We want to find out if basic income is a smarter, fairer way to support people through hard times and help them to get back on their feet. This is an idea that has been talked about for 35 years, and we are going to put it in place in 3 communities and figure out if it is a better way. It's about embracing a changing economy and not leaving anyone behind. And that's how we went into this year's budget planning process. We were determined to address the concerns of those who feel that they are being left behind in a changing economy. With our budget back in balance and unemployment at its lowest point in 16 years, we're in a good position in Ontario to do this. We have the freedom and the flexibility to respond to these new challenges. And in order to do that, we can now because we have been able to get to this point, we can make the right decisions to support the people of Ontario as we all navigate this turbulence. And we can set our province on a course toward long-term success. Last fall, as Tom said, I led a trade mission to Japan and South Korea, and innovation was at the very top of the agenda and of every conversation. I talked about how Ontario is giving Silicon Valley a run for its money, and how if you travel our high-tech corridor from Waterloo to Toronto to Ottawa, you'll find 7 of the 10 largest tech companies in the world conducting R&D. And you'll see where the popular messaging app Kik started, the Perimeter Institute, our world leader in theoretical physics and quantum computing, and Canada's first virtual reality gaming space. All of that is in that corridor. So the world is changing at a pace that's unprecedented. You can see that everywhere. And one day when I was in Japan, we took a bullet train to Nagoya, traveling up to 285 kilometers an hour, running right on time, of course. And when we reached our destination, Toyota headquarters, we stood on the factory floor, watched an assembly line operated almost entirely by robots. It was remarkable. And all of this was after I'd shaken hands with Asimo at Honda's headquarters. If I weren't from Ontario, those robots might have made me nervous. But I am from Ontario. 141 years ago, Alexander Graham Bell made the world's first long-distance phone call from his home here in Brantford. 18 years ago, Waterloo's Research in Motion came out with the BlackBerry and changed the game again. Ontario has always been home to brilliant minds and cutting-edge technologies. Discovery itself is a testament to that fact. We can own this space. This is who we are. We can build an innovative and a fair Ontario. But we can only do that if we combine our efforts. And we can only do that if we make sure that all people in Ontario see themselves, their hopes, their dreams reflected in the choices that we're making. Our choice to invest in the jobs of the future and in making sure our people have the right skills for that work. Our choice to improve access to medication, childcare, and higher education. Our choice to lead. So this is the time for all of us to work together toward what we know is possible. It is not the time for us to be immobilized by fear or immobilized by judgment. And I say that meaning that we all come at this conversation from different perspectives. And yes, some of us may be closer to a donkey cart than others. I'm not putting myself there, but I understand where that comment comes from. But what's really important is that we listen to each other and we learn from each other. And yes, we have to do it quickly, but I believe that we can. I believe that the spirit that underpins Ontario and always has will allow us to do that. Our belief that our people are our strength, our belief that education, equitable treatment of people across this province, that's what's going to propel us forward and make us and continue to allow us to be a leading society in this world. So I'm very grateful to everyone in this room for what you're doing to create a better way and a better life and a better future for Ontario, and I look forward to continuing to work in partnership with you. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you, Premier Wynne. Your strong vision for Ontario and how we can work together to build a province of opportunity and prosperity for everyone is inspiring. We look forward to continuing to work with you and your government as we seek to create the best possible environment for encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation in Ontario. We also have with us a Made in Ontario successful entrepreneur who would like to say a few words of thanks to the Premier. I would now like to invite Chekema Prince, who is co-founder and Chief Scientific Officer of Pression, a recipient of OCE's 2016 Martin Walmsley Award for Entrepreneurship, to come forward.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank Premier Wynne and the Government of Ontario for their continued support of innovation across diverse industries. Winning the OCE Martin Walmsley Award has been immensely beneficial to my company, Pression, particularly as we are in the medtech space, where the road from product development to marketplace is extended, given the requirements of proving the efficacy of our technology. I would also like to thank the Premier and OCE for their support of female-led tech companies. I stand here as an example of what founders of technology companies look like today and what more of them will look like in the future. There are many fierce female founders throughout Ontario developing innovative technology that is changing our society. Premier, these women look to you as a role model of strength, leadership, and perseverance needed to achieve success. On behalf of the female founders across Ontario, we look forward to your continued support to bring our innovation to market. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to raise a startup. And I would like to thank the village that has helped Pression achieve the success thus far. As a testament to government industry supporting innovation together, I would like to thank Lockheed Martin, Pression's partner in technology development. Thank you to the Premier for your support of organizations like OCE and all of the mentors that Pression has engaged along the Toronto-Waterloo corridor and at the University of Waterloo. Pression is sincerely thankful for all of your help. Thank you.